Have you ever felt trapped by a limitation that makes everything seem impossible? Imagine living in a place where strength determines your worth, but your body just can't keep up. What if a simple act of kindness could change everything? And what if what you see as your greatest weakness is actually the very thing that will make you stronger? This story reveals how true strength often arises in the moments we feel the most fragile. Nestled in the rolling hills of early America, in a small village surrounded by golden fields and towering oak trees, lived a 12-year-old girl named Emma. She had delicate features, long dark hair that draped over her shoulders, and deep brown eyes filled with curiosity and quiet determination. Life in the late 18th century was not easy. Families relied on their own hard work to survive, and even children were expected to contribute. But Emma faced a challenge that set her apart. Her health had always been frail, leaving her weaker than the other children. No matter how much she wanted to help, her body often failed her. Recently, the village well had dried up, forcing the townspeople to fetch water from a distant spring. Adults and children alike carried heavy buckets across the fields. But no matter how hard Emma tried, she simply couldn't keep up. Every attempt left her breathless, her arms shaking, the weight of the water slipping from her grasp. She watched as the other children worked together with ease, their laughter echoing through the village. No one made fun of her, and the adults kindly brought water to her home, but that only deepened the weight in her heart. She didn't want to be taken care of. She wanted to be the one who could help. Sitting beneath an old oak tree, Emma gazed at the horizon, her thoughts heavy. She loved her village and longed to contribute, but the growing feeling of helplessness weighed her down. In a place where strength was everything, she felt like she had no place. But just when she believed she had nothing to offer, life would soon present her with an unexpected opportunity, one that would change everything. The days in the small village followed the same rhythm, with the golden sun casting its light over fields of wheat and oak trees, swaying gently in the breeze. Emma kept trying, again and again, to help with the daily tasks, but each effort left her exhausted, and the weight of failure grew heavier. Slowly, she began to distance herself, retreating to quiet corners where she could escape the kind smiles that, to her, felt more like silent pity. It was on one of these days, while walking through the fields, that Emma stumbled upon something unexpected. Sitting beneath a tree, catching her breath after another failed attempt to carry water buckets, she heard a faint sound from the tall grass. Her instincts, always attuned to nature, made her move cautiously. As she parted the leaves, she saw it. A tiny hummingbird crumpled on the ground, its delicate wings trembling as if it had lost the strength to fly. Emma's heart tightened. The bird looked so fragile, so small, just like she often felt. A deep sense of connection washed over her, and for a moment she hesitated. Am I strong enough to help? If I can't even carry a bucket of water, how can I possibly save this tiny creature? But something stirred inside her, a spark of compassion and hope. She reached out carefully, cupping the bird in her hands, feeling its delicate body against her palm. Holding it close to her chest, she walked back home with careful steps, her grip steady but gentle. Once inside, she prepared a small shelter, using soft cloth and leaves, a tiny sanctuary for the wounded creature. In the weeks that followed, Emma's life began to change. She cared for the bird every single day, dedicating herself fully to its recovery. She mixed sugar water in a tiny spoon and fed it patiently, watching as its small, curious eyes studied her in return. At first, the hummingbird was too weak to respond, but as time passed, Emma noticed subtle signs of strength returning. As the bird healed, something inside Emma shifted as well. She spent hours by its side, watching over it with quiet devotion. In those moments of stillness, she found herself reflecting on her own struggles. If I, someone who once felt powerless, can help this tiny creature, then maybe I'm not as weak as I thought. Maybe strength wasn't about lifting heavy buckets or completing difficult chores. Maybe it was something softer, something deeper, something she was only just beginning to understand. One night as the hummingbird slept in its small nest, Emma gazed at it and whispered, as if revealing her most private thoughts. "I wish I was strong like you. Able to fly, able to make a difference. But maybe strength isn't what I always thought it was." The bird didn't answer, but somehow its presence reassured her. Emma knew that as long as she kept caring for it, something inside her would continue to grow, something that one day would change her forever. Time passed, and the tiny hummingbird, once too weak to move, began to show signs of recovery. Its eyes gleamed with renewed life, and its delicate wings fluttered ever so slightly. Emma watched each bit of progress with a mix of excitement and cautious hope. She couldn't explain why, but it felt as if the little bird's fate was somehow tied to her own, and in a way it was. One morning she awoke to the soft sound of fluttering wings. Her eyes widened, and she jumped to her feet, her bare toes brushing against the cool wooden floor as she hurried toward the small shelter she had built. There, inside, was the hummingbird, trying to fly. Its wings quivered, hesitant yet determined. Smiles spread across Emma's face, and for the first time in a long while, she felt something warm bloom inside her chest. "He's getting stronger," she thought. Emma continued to care for him with unwavering dedication. Every morning she carried the tiny creature outside, placing him in the gentle warmth of the early sun, letting him soak in its light and gather his strength. The process was slow. Sometimes the bird seemed to take a step forward only to take 2 steps back. But Emma never gave up. Each time he faltered, she was there, watching over him, encouraging him. And somewhere in that quiet devotion, something inside her was changing too. In the weeks that followed, Emma began to see herself differently. Where she had once seen weakness, she now recognized resilience. It wasn't the physical strength that her village so often valued, but something deeper, a quiet determination that kept her moving forward despite the challenges. Taking care of the hummingbird made her realize that true strength wasn't about lifting heavy burdens. It was about patience, kindness, and the willingness to keep trying. Then, on a crisp, clear morning, the moment she had been waiting for finally arrived. Emma stepped outside, cradling the hummingbird in her hands, just as she had done so many times before. The golden light bathed her face, and a gentle breeze rustled the fabric of her dress. Kneeling, she carefully set the bird down on the ground and took a step back, her heart pounding with anticipation. The hummingbird, now visibly stronger, flapped its wings. Emma held her breath. For a brief second, the bird hesitated. Its wings beat slowly, as if testing their own strength. Then, in one graceful motion, it lifted off the ground and soared into the air. A rush of emotion flooded through Emma as she watched it rise higher and higher. "He did it," she whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She followed its path as it flew upward, higher and higher, until it disappeared into the treetops. A soft, knowing smile formed on her lips, and in that moment, something clicked inside her, something she had never truly understood before. Emma didn't need to be the strongest. She didn't have to carry the heaviest buckets or perform the hardest tasks to be valuable. True strength wasn't about muscles or endurance. It was about care, about persistence, about love. She had helped that tiny bird find its wings, and in doing so she had found her own. Feeling lighter than she had in a long time, Emma made her way back to the village, where children still played and adults went about their daily work. But the weight that had once sat so heavily on her chest was gone. She now knew that even though she was small and physically fragile, she could still make a difference. Her weakness did not define her, her strength did. The days following the hummingbird's flight were filled with a quiet serenity for Emma. The transformation she had undergone wasn't something others could see, but to her, it felt as if the world itself had changed. Every task that once felt like a burden now carried new meaning. Carrying small buckets of water, gathering herbs, or simply watching the other children work, these were no longer reminders of what she couldn't do. Instead, Emma saw them through a new lens, one shaped by understanding rather than self-doubt. She no longer felt inadequate because she had realized that strength wasn't in her hands or muscles, it was in her heart. She had found a way to contribute to the village, even if her efforts weren't the most visible or the quickest. What mattered was not the size of the task, but the care and love she put into it. As the sun dipped below the golden fields of wheat, Emma climbed a small hill overlooking the village. The evening breeze played with her long, dark hair, and she closed her eyes, taking in the quiet beauty of the moment. She smiled as she remembered the hummingbird, now free, flying high among the trees. It had found the strength to soar, and in doing so, she had found something too. Over time, life in the village continued as it always had. The people worked, laughed, and carried on with their daily routines. But for Emma, something had changed forever. She no longer cared if others saw her as fragile, because now she knew exactly who she was, and with that knowledge, she felt ready to face whatever challenges the future held. Her heart was light, her mind was calm. Emma had learned that sometimes the greatest strength lies in caring for the smallest, in pushing forward even when it feels impossible, and in never losing faith in oneself. That lesson, etched deep within her soul, would stay with her for a lifetime. As she gazed toward the horizon, Emma felt a sense of peace unlike anything she had known before. Her journey was only just beginning, and though she knew there would still be obstacles ahead, she now faced them with quiet confidence. And somewhere in the vastness of the sky, that tiny hummingbird still flew, just as free as she was. True greatness isn't measured by the size of our achievements, but by the way we touch the lives of others. So often we search for strength in the wrong places, never realizing that it has been within us all along, in the way we choose to move forward, even when the road is uncertain. True strength isn't about never falling, it's about having the courage to rise and keep going, no matter how difficult the path may seem. Emma's journey has shown us that some of the greatest battles we face happen within. True strength doesn't come from the size of our actions, but from the persistence, care, and love we pour into everything we do. Even when we feel small and fragile, we can still find the strength to help others, and in doing so, we end up helping ourselves. We all have moments when we doubt our own abilities. But what if the greatest transformation doesn't come from grand achievements, but from the small choices we make every day? A simple act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a quiet moment of courage. This is where true change begins. Now, I want to hear from you. When was a moment in your life when you realized you were stronger than you thought? Have you ever found strength in unexpected places? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. Overcoming challenges isn't about reaching a finish line. It's a journey constantly unfolding. Every obstacle we face teaches us something valuable. Let this story be a reminder that you already have everything you need to keep moving forward. All you have to do is trust your path. If this message touched your heart, give this video a like and share it with someone who needs a reminder that the strength to keep going is already inside them. Someone who may need encouragement to take the next step, or just a small spark to reignite their will to move forward. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire, strengthen, and remind us that even on the hardest days, there is always a way forward. Let's keep growing together, one step at a time.